Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing podcast. This is episode number 812, which is also 812th day of consecutive blogging and podcasting. I create the blog post and podcast episode every day. I publish it for journaling purposes. I'm journaling in essence my life, but also things that happen around, and I add up a lot of stuff that might be my thoughts around certain things and maybe some useful information that someone can benefit from. So not the sexiest content around, and not the most entertaining, but I thank everyone that is watching me, and thank you very much for your time, because these days everything seems to be speeding up, or we are distracted and bombarded with so much information around that we don't have time to stop and think or live a life, really. We are told forcefully that in order to live a life, we need to build a business, we need to do that and that, we need to get the grade or some degree, or we need to do whatever as much as we can, but in the end I think we are missing life by trying to pursue as much as we want in life. So that time is very precious, and you are spending it by watching me. So I thank you for that, because it's probably the most valuable thing that you can give me as a person, as a content creator, than any money can buy. So once again, thank you very much. Let's step straight into today's update, or a highlight of Saturday, which was December 7, and that was the 6th full day of my parents' visit in Ireland. Technically 7th, but they arrived on a Sunday evening, so it was not much day to spend on. They happened to hit the worst probably week in terms of weather. It was chilly, very windy and gloomy, very wet in Donegal and in Ireland in general. And from Friday onwards, we've got a lot of winds because of the incoming storm. So Saturday was really, really windy. We stayed safe in the house, obviously doing what we could do to share as much information as you do with the family when you happen to meet not so often. We probably meet very rarely, to be honest, probably once a year at most. So it was, most of the days were about chatting and eating together, and sometimes even drinking together, but in moderation, and just a buzz that Julian could enjoy time with his grandparents. And Saturday's highlights was that we wanted to go somewhere for a walk, and we came up with an idea to make it before the sunset and use the last hour or two of the day, and drove towards Bundoran first, where we ate some nice lunch. And later on we decided that if we are in Bundoran, we might as well drive towards Benbulben, which is in the county Sligo, and about 30 kilometers, so not far from the place we were. And we went there for Benbulben walk or trail. But when we arrived, there was only one car in the car park. The wind seemed to be blowing even harder than we were expecting, and it was so dangerous. The trees were really fallen in and around the car park, so we decided to skip this. And on the way back, we revisited Mullaghmore, which is probably most known to people surfing because it has big waves. Some people say that it's the second or third place after Nazaré in Portugal in terms of big waves. So surfers like to come here, especially in kind of around winter time. So probably after Christmas and into New Year, the swells will start getting bigger and bigger. So there will be more surfers in Mullaghmore. But there's a small port down there, and we have some history with Mullaghmore because back in 2021, we went for a 3 or 4 days trip from the old place that we used to live in on the other side of Ireland. And Mullaghmore was our last step before returning to Sligo and Roscommon and those areas back to Kilcock, County Kildare. So Mullaghmore has some sentimental value to us. We spent a night in a tent there on the beach, or actually on the dune. And the morning after we spent that night there, we were awakened by some noises outside of the tent that felt like somebody is trying to get into the tent or steal something. So my wife was scared a bit, and I won't be lying, it was strange to hear those noises, but there was no voices or anything like that. So obviously I was the one to open the tent and check out. And lo and behold, when I looked outside, literally probably 1 or 2 meters away from my face, was a big face of a cow. And it turns out that it was normal that cows were just walking on those dunes and around that beach because they are allowed to. And in the morning they were just passing, the whole herd was passing the dune that we were in a tent on. So it was funny because while cows in general are not dangerous creatures, every animal is unpredictable, and that is enough for my wife to be really uncomfortable with those animals. So she was a bit scared and went to the beach to avoid them. But these moments when nothing really bad happens, but it raises those emotions, even if they are good or bad, they are really well recorded in our brain, so they create great memories. So that's why I remembered Mullaghmore. So we went there with my mother and my father. It was already setting, the sun was setting, so it was already getting a bit darker. The wind was so strong that we were barely able to walk on the beach. So we did probably about half mile along the beach and then half mile back to the car park. But then we went to the port to investigate a little bit, because we knew that in Mullaghmore there was at least one sauna similar to ours. And indeed, we found the sauna parked and locked on the pier, just beside the wall of the pier. That was Blazed Sauna. So if anyone from Blazed Sauna ever watches this episode, that's a shout out for you guys. And then we found another sauna that was a bit hidden and not visible at first, but we noticed it. And it was amazing, and it was without branding. So it was unusual shape, unusual build, but without branding. I had to look it up, and I don't think it's part of the whole community of sauna owners, so I need to check if they still operate or not, and maybe include them, because it's a great place. So there are 2 saunas in Mullaghmore, in that small port, that seem to be operating seasonally. So yeah, that was the highlight of that particular day and evening. The storm was increasing. We got even a red warning by the Met Institute and Meteorological Institute that in Ireland, that was warning people to stay indoors, not take unnecessary trips, and expect potential outages and other things because the wind was increasing. And indeed, it was terribly windy when we came back, and overnight it was blowing really hard. So that's the highlight of Saturday. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Stay tuned and see you again tomorrow.